Never buy another throw pillow from a store again. I'm serious. Once you see what I'm about to show you, you're going to look at every boring beige couch cushion in your house and feel a little bit insulted. Here's the thing about home decor stores. They sell you the same 5 items everyone else has. Same vase, same pillow cover, same live, laugh, love sign that's been hanging in a million living rooms since 2015. You spend $40 on a pillow that looks exactly like the one your neighbor has, your cousin has, and the people 3 doors down have too. And it falls apart in a year anyway. But there's a quiet shift happening right now, and a lot of people haven't caught on yet. People are turning their living rooms into something that actually feels like them, using nothing but yarn and a hook. Not knitting, crochet. And the stuff people are making right now is not your grandma's doily collection. We're talking chunky blankets that cost $10 to make and look like they came from a $500 boutique. We're talking wall hangings, plant holders, baskets, coasters, rugs, even lampshades. All made by hand, all one of a kind, and all way cheaper than anything you'd find at a store. So if you've ever looked around your room and thought it feels a little empty, a little generic, a little this could be anyone's apartment, stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to have a full list of crochet home decor projects you can start this weekend, even if you've never picked up a hook in your life. And I'm going to show you the one mistake almost every beginner makes that makes their projects look cheap instead of cozy. So, let's get into it. Okay, so first, let's talk about why this is actually a problem worth solving. A lot of people want their home to feel warm and personal. They want it to feel lived in, not like a hotel room. But when you walk into most stores, everything is mass-produced. It's made in a factory, shipped in bulk, and designed to look fine, not special. Fine isn't exciting. Fine doesn't make your friends ask, "Wait, where did you get that?" And on the other end, a lot of people think handmade decor means hours and hours of work, expensive yarn, and some kind of special skill they don't have. They see a crochet blanket online and think, that took someone 6 months to make. I could never do that. That's actually one of the biggest myths out there, and it stops so many people before they even try. The truth is, some of the best-looking crochet home decor pieces are made with the most basic stitch there is. You don't need to know 50 different techniques. You need maybe 2 or 3 stitches, the right yarn, and a little bit of patience. So, now let's actually get into the good stuff, the projects. I'm going to walk you through different areas of your home, starting with the easiest stuff and working up to pieces that'll make people think you bought them from a designer shop. Let's start with coasters and small accent pieces, because this is the best place for anyone brand new to crochet to start. A coaster is small, it's quick, and if you mess it up, you've wasted maybe 10 minutes and a tiny bit of yarn instead of hours. You can make a single coaster in under 15 minutes once you know the basic stitch. And here's a trick that makes them look way more expensive than they are. Use 2 colors instead of 1, and add a little border in a contrasting shade. That one small detail is the difference between something that looks like a kid's craft project and something that looks like it belongs on a coffee table in a magazine. Next, let's move to plant hangers, because this is where crochet home decor really starts to shine. If you have even one plant in your house, a hanging crochet plant holder instantly makes your space feel more put together. The pattern is usually just a simple net design, which means it's mostly repeating the same loop over and over. It looks complicated when you see it hanging there holding a plant, but it's actually one of the most beginner-friendly projects you can make. And the best part is, it costs you almost nothing. A skein of cotton yarn is usually just a few dollars, and one skein can make 2 or 3 plant hangers depending on the size. Now let's talk about baskets. This one surprises people because they don't realize you can crochet something sturdy enough to actually hold stuff. But if you use thicker yarn or even fabric strips instead of regular yarn, you can make baskets that hold towels, blankets, toys, magazines, whatever you need organized. And here's something cool. These baskets hold their shape because of the yarn weight, not because of some special stiffening spray or wire frame, just thick yarn and tight stitches. People walk into a room with one of these baskets sitting in the corner and they think it's from some expensive home store. It's not. It's yarn you probably spent $15 on. Then there's the big one, blankets. This is the project everyone thinks of first when they hear the word crochet, for good reason. A handmade blanket changes the entire feeling of a room. It makes a couch look cozy instead of just functional. It makes a bed look inviting instead of plain. And the thing people don't realize is that you don't need to make some giant queen-size blanket your first time. You can start with a lap blanket or a throw-size blanket, which is way more manageable. And honestly, those smaller blankets are what most people actually use anyway. They drape one over the back of a couch or a chair, and it instantly makes the whole room look warmer. Here's where a lot of beginners go wrong, though, and this is the mistake I mentioned earlier. They pick a thin, cheap yarn because it's the cheapest option at the store, and then their blanket comes out looking thin, flat, and kind of sad. The secret that changes everything is using a thicker yarn, what's usually called bulky or super bulky weight, paired with a bigger hook. When you do that, your project grows fast, looks fuller, and feels way more luxurious, even though you're using the same basic stitches as before. This one change is honestly the difference between a blanket that looks homemade in a good way and one that looks homemade in a sad way. Now let's talk about wall hangings, because this is where things get really creative. A crochet wall hanging is basically like a piece of art, except it's made of yarn and texture instead of paint. You can make simple geometric shapes, fringe designs, or even little scenes using different colors. What's great about this project is that it doesn't need to be perfect to look good. In fact, a little bit of unevenness in a wall hanging often makes it look more intentional, more artistic, like it was made by an actual person instead of a machine. That's the whole appeal here. People are craving things that don't look mass-produced, and a wall hanging practically announces a real human made this with their hands. And finally, let's talk about rugs, because this might be the most impressive project on this entire list. Using thick yarn or even old t-shirts cut into strips, you can crochet a round or rectangular rug that looks like something out of a home design magazine. It takes longer than the other projects, sure, but the payoff is huge. A handmade rug placed in front of a couch or beside a bed completely transforms the feeling of a room. It adds texture, it adds color, and it adds that personal touch that no store-bought rug can give you, because no two handmade rugs are ever exactly the same. So here's the moment that really matters in all of this. Picture this. You walk into your living room after spending a weekend making one of these projects. Maybe it's a blanket draped over your couch, or a plant hanger swaying gently near your window, or a rug under your coffee table. And for the first time, the room doesn't just feel decorated, it feels like yours. Not because you spent a lot of money, but because you made something with your own hands and put it in a space where you actually live your actual life. That feeling, that moment where you look around and think, I made this and it actually looks good, that's the whole point. That's worth more than anything you could buy from a store. If this video gave you some ideas, hit subscribe, because I've got a full beginner tutorial coming next that walks you through your very first project step by step.